This is Dave Palumbo with an RX Muscle special report. We were just watching up on screen Big Ramy guest posing in India, and there has been reports that Ramy has seriously injured himself. Some of these people who were reporting this claim that this was the reason he was not at the Olympia Europe this past weekend, which he was scheduled to be at and compete at and possibly win. I have Chris Aceto on the line now, who just got back from the Europe Olympia. He is also the coach of Big Ramy. And Chris, people are reporting on the internet that Big Ramy did not do the Olympia because of he has a major quadricep injury. Is that true?
Well, he didn't do it because two reasons. He does have a leg injury, but he got sick in India, which was, I sent you some pictures, Dave. You can put them up. That was before he left for India. And I told you he got Montezuma's revenge.
Which
that was
is
step
supposed to be
number one.
from Mexico, but yeah, I guess there must be an Indian counterpart. Let me ask Sid. Sid, is there a counterpart, an Indian counterpart to Montezuma's revenge in India? Would it be Gandhi's revenge?
I was gonna say that, but so
it's probably the British revenge because the British were there for the longest time, and they got beat back and sent out.
There's
Now
Ramy
retreating
before he
from the
left.
world.
We're seeing Ramy before he left, which he looked like he could win the Olympia there. Literally, no pun intended. I mean, crazy looking. And so he goes to India to guest post. Now, you know what happened to me the last time I went to India. The only time I went to India, I came back with a torn quadricep.
You want me to tell the story, Dave?
Tell the story, yeah. Tell me about your dream.
I actually had a dream before Ramy went to India, because the original plan was he was going to go to India and he was going to stay and fly out at like the last minute to come to Germany. And because Sharu had like a week set up for him in India. So he spoke to Sharu, and Sharu was nice enough to say, let's cut it in half. You come and do half the appearances that you were supposed to make. And that way you can get back a little bit early, to Kuwait and then fly out to Germany for the show. And I told you I had this odd dream. You showed me the pictures of the staircase in which you fell a few years ago and busted up your knee. So I had this odd dream that you were showing me that staircase, and your father was sitting with a denim hat in the lobby of the hotel, and he looked so sick like he was going to die, and you were showing me this staircase for some reason. And in the dream, I kept on thinking, what's wrong with Dave? Why is he like showing me the staircase with like zero concern for his father? So anyways, I thought that was odd, but so Ramy hurt his vastus lateralis out ahead of the quad.
He didn't tear it though, right? He just pulled it.
He pulled it. He pulled it. It's all black and blue, and his knee's bothering him. I think there's some stretched ligaments there as well.
And how did it
but he's
happen?
training.
He didn't fall down the flight of
steps. The fact of the matter is,
steps.
Dave, he's training now, so he's back into it's not like he's like sitting at home watching Scooby-Doo, the Arabic version of Scooby-Doo. He's playing Nintendo. He's training, and
You didn't tell us the best part of it, how it happened.
Oh, well, the best part of it, and I thought the German fans were the craziest bodybuilding fans ever, because I went to I had heard that, and at the Olympia in Europe, just as an aside, I told Robin Chang, you got to export those fans to the Olympia in Vegas. Honestly, Dave, they go absolutely nuts, like it's a rock concert for every single guy. Every single guy, they go nuts on every single pose. So it's true that the German bodybuilding fans are undeniably the craziest, wackiest fans out there in bodybuilding. But I guess the Indians are close as well, because when Ramy went into the audience, like a lot of bodybuilders do,
He's limping, yeah.
the audience just went nuts and mobbed him, like so he couldn't even move.
We could see him
so
limping
eventually,
now.
when he made it back to the stage, people were pushing to get close to him, and you know how it's like a domino effect. People up close will actually pushing Ramy, not because they're pushing Ramy, but because the other people behind them were pushing and pushing and pushing. And when he went to climb up on stage, the mass of the crowd pushed him, and that's when he thinks
we can see him limping in this video here a little bit. But I'll tell you one thing: when I tore my quad, there was no limping. I went right down. So he obviously doesn't have a serious injury. He might have.
Well, you had the evil eye staircase on you. This was just the excitement of the crowd.
I bought a picture earlier in the day of the goddess of death, Shiva, and everyone warned me not to do it. And I think that I got cursed. But I heard that Shiva is actually the goddess of change, and that's really what it was. And so I needed change in my life, which I got a lot of change after that. That's for sure. We got hit with the hurricane. Everything was changed in my life, but for the better ultimately. Because if I would not have torn my quad, I probably wouldn't have met my wife. So there you go. That's a good reason right there. But Ramy is fine. Now, the real reason he didn't do the Olympia Europe was not because of that. The real reason, Chris, is because he got, once again, the dysentery. Obviously, if you get dehydrated and you're pooping your brains out, there's no way you can get up on stage and compete after that. So it was kind of the combination of the two things that caused him to withdraw from the Olympia. In your estimation, being at that Olympia, Chris, would Ramy have beat Dexter Jackson?
Probably. On paper, he probably would have. You know what? I'll say this. I don't even know because, you know what? People, I was at, here's the spiel on the Olympia. Besides everyone coming up to me and saying, "Where's Dave?" when I'm in Germany, a lot of people would come up and say, "Wow, Bonac was off. Bonac was way off." And you know what? You can replay the tapes from our radio show after the Prague show because I had issues with Bonac winning, and because think of it, Bonac on that day beat a Dexter, which is one type of physique. He was very peeled. He beat a full and cut Roden, and he beat a massive and cut Ramy. So either he's like now the greatest bodybuilder on earth, or you know what, my assessment of the placings there were right, which is I didn't think he deserved to win. So he comes here in Europe, and he essentially looked the same. I thought Dexter was less peeled up than he was for sure in Prague, and Roden looked better than Prague. So, but the point is, when people said, when I see them in person, how did Bonac look here? I said, it's really the same look that he brought in Prague. It's a great look. He's full, he's hard, he's round. But I guess in comparison to who he's being compared to, it's hard for me to justify him beating those type of guys. So having said that, I guess Ramy, technically he could have won the Europe show, the Europe Olympia, or maybe Dexter would have won anyway.
Who judged?
It's hard to say with these judges. Every judging panel, every country is different, and they have different views of like what the best guy looks like.
Who was judging?
I personally thought Roden could have easily won that show.
Chris, who was judging in Europe? In the Olympia.
Old guys with blue blazers. I don't know. I don't know who they are. It's like in the U.S. The only judges I recognize in the U.S. are a handful. Four guys I know who judge shows. So IFBB officials, I guess.
Given the fact that Ramy obviously had to miss this show, will we see him at the Arnold Classic in March?
Probably the Arnold Classic in March. Probably. Dave, he probably could have still gone to Europe. He probably could have still gone to Europe. But when you're, when you're really truly sick, meaning you got the diarrhea. That's probably a worse sickness potentially to have for a few days than any other, injury or whatever it might be, or any other, a back injury or a shoulder injury, or, your stomach's upset and you're throwing up because you're getting dehydrated. When you get dehydrated, not only can you not manipulate things, but carbs don't stick. if you try to drop water, you're looking, you're running a tightrope of really hurting yourself. So the result might have been a disaster had he gone to Europe in terms of the way he might have looked, or the real effects on his health. You trying to drop water when you have diarrhea is not a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Now, Chris, I guess that means that the rumors that Ramy tried to do a backflip on stage in India, and that's how he hurt himself, were incorrect.
Well, I had told, I think, Jose Raymond that he was trying to do a triple Lindsay, whatever that ice skate is doing, triple Lutz.
The triple Lindy was what Rodney Dangerfield did in Back to School, if anyone knows that.
Is that what he did?
He dove off like 14 diving boards. He was jumping up and back. The triple Lindy.
I mean, Fred Biggie Smalls can do that crazy jump up in the air and throws, all those crazy splits, and Ramy gets pushed by a mob of fans, and
Ramy gets pushed by a 100-pound Indian guy, and he pulls his quad. Yeah, exactly. Just goes to show you. Now, just let's get a quick update on Cedric McMillan, since you obviously know him as well. Cedric refused to go to India, right? Didn't he say it's cursed or something like that? What did he say?
Yeah, he said, India doesn't pan out for a lot of people. He's scared to go to India.
Now, Cedric pulled out of the Olympia as well because he claims that he has chronic hiccups, right? Is that what
he has chronic hiccups. It sounds ridiculous, but it's this is. I think I sent you Cedric pictures, right?
Yeah, he looks great.
He looks.
He should get chronic hiccups more often. I think the hiccups are keeping him from cheating on the diet. That's why.
No, I mean, you saw pictures. He's if that's cheating, that's
no. I
working.
said it's preventing him from cheating on the diet because he can't eat.
So he had to pull out of the show too. I think I'm glad people are reporting that it's like broken kneecaps and stuff because people over at Mortuary Development probably say Ramy's kidney shut down and Cedric's liver exploded.
Right. Because of you, right?
We know who that is.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that Ramy is not seriously injured and that we'll see him again at the Arnold Classic. And, of course, Cedric McMillan will be back. I always say Cedric is the king of missed opportunities and the prophet of doom. That's my new two nicknames for him. But hopefully we'll see him back in action as well. Will Cedric do the Arnold Classic this year again?
Yeah, Cedric will definitely do the Arnold. It's odd. He loves the Arnold. He never wins the Arnold.
Right.
But he always leaves that show creating an awful lot of talk of like should have, could have.
Well, Arnold is his biggest fan. That's why I think that that always happens. But it would be a great matchup: Cedric, Big Ramy, and Kai Green. That would be a great call out.
You might see Dennis Wolf may jump in the show.
You never know, right?
Roden may jump in the show.
Could be better than the Olympia, maybe.
Yeah, it'd be better. It'd be the Olympia lineup minus Phil.
Yeah. All right. Well, Chris, thanks for taking time. I know you got some babysitting duty to do today, and we got to get back to packing up the offices because this is the last week in New York, as you know. And then we're off to Florida for our next chapter in the life of RX Muscle. So we are now developing different, how like ESPN has different regions of the country. Sid is going to be RX Muscle New York. Chris, you'll be RX Muscle Maine. We have to get a backdrop for you. And Johnny and I will be RX Muscle Florida. So I see a picture.
Yeah,
I see a picture you put up with Dorian Yates you took this past weekend.
Yeah, I put up a picture with Dorian Yates. He's doing great, man. This guy's he's a champion all the way. Meaning, you talked to him about bodybuilding. He had that down. You talked to him about being content and living a life the way he wants to live it and the way he wants to define it. He's got that down. There's no confusion and no hesitation in the way he lives. I had a great conversation with him. That picture I posted up, Dave, does him zero justice. He looks so healthy and young in real life that, I approached him to tell him that. And we started talking, and Johnny Jackson comes over to interrupt. And he interrupts and he says, I just want to interrupt to say one thing. He said, you look unbelievably young. I said, thank you. He laughed his ass off. I said, not you, Dorian.
Well,
and we had a big laugh. We had a good time.
I told you to get Dorian to do the live with interview with me. Did you hook it up?
Yeah, I'll try to hook it up, Dave. You have to, because you know what? He can talk on any subject.
I know. That's
any subject.
I got a lot of subjects to talk to him about. So, all right. Well, that's going to take us to the end of another RX Muscle special update on Big Ramy, Cedric McMillan, and ultimately Dorian Yates. So, guys, stay tuned for more updates to come later. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.